Call the dogs in because you're listening to the Field Master Podcast. All right, everyone. Welcome back to episode number 3 of the Field Master Podcast. I'm joined by my awesome friends, Ryan and Sam.
Hey, yo.
As well as Caleb, who is in the background making sure we look and sound good. So we've got a very special guest today. We actually just got done spending almost three days with him.
Yeah.
Bill Gibson, kennel master and director of gun dog operations at Mossy Oak's GameKeeper Kennel in West Point, Mississippi. In 2004, Bill was part of the first U.S. gun dog team to participate in the United Kingdom and won the International Gun Dog Challenge, beating out England, Scotland, Wales, and more. It's quite an accomplishment, Bill.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I thought it was too.
Yeah.
'Cause I never expected to win.
Yeah, right. I know you were telling us a story when we were there that you just expected to go over and try out, and you had a buddy. And you were saying that, you know, your buddy actually did pretty not great, and you beat him out, and he wasn't very happy.
Well, what they did is they took all the scores and added them together.
Right.
And came up with a total score for each team. And we had the highest score.
Right.
But actually, after the first dog ran, we were in last place. And then my buddy ran, and he pulled us up to next to last, and I ran, and it pulled us up to second. Oh. And we finally dug it up to number 1.
So you were the anchor.
Able to hold it.
You were the anchor then.
Something like that.
So tell me, kennel master and director of gun dog operations. That's a pretty big title.
Yeah, I don't use kennel master very often.
No?
They have a lot of names for me other than that. But
some of
I
those
just
we
call
can't say.
myself a trainer.
Yeah. So you've been let's say you've been working with dogs though for a long time.
Just about all my life.
Right. So tell me, when did you get your first dog, or when did you really start training your dogs?
Well, I got my first dog way back there. I don't even remember. It was probably the early 60s.
Early 60s.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And when I had to go on active duty in the Navy,
Mm-hmm.
then I gave that dog to a friend of mine. And I didn't have a dog while I was in the Navy. After I got out, I got another. But I wasn't a very good trainer back then. I didn't really understand the concepts. You know, I like meat dogs. They just go out and pick a duck up and bring it back.
Right. Yeah.
And I really got into training about, the year 2000.
Yeah.
Late 99, early 2000.
Yeah. So before or I should say, so you went into the Navy.
Right.
Now tell me about what you did in the Navy.
I was a machinist mate in the forward engine room.
Gotcha.
And my primary responsibility after I'd been on there a while was water keying.
Gotcha.
I was responsible for making the fresh water for the boilers and the fresh water for showers and cooking and all that stuff. And there's a difference. You want a little bit of impurity in the shower water and the dishwater. Otherwise, you stand there and you soap up and you're just soaped up. It won't wash it off.
Right.
But in the boilers, it was imperative that it be very clean.
Right. Yeah, because you don't want those impurities like boiling off and stuff
they
like
stick
that.
to the boiler tubes.
Exactly. Yeah. Gotcha. And so you got out of the Navy, and then you went to work doing what?
I was office machine repairman, believe it or not.
Okay.
For Remington Rand.
Yep.
And a dealer. And I did that for a few years, and they passed the Vietnam Veterans GI Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided I'd go to school, ended up Mississippi State, went 4 years and got a degree in accounting.
Now, something is happening with our podcast, and we kind of touched on this at lunch, but this is almost becoming the Mississippi State alumni podcast.
That's
because
right.
you're number 2 in a row.
Yep.
So, something's going on here. I think we need to get a different team.
We might need to roll tide.
Well, I don't know that we need to do that, but you know.
My friend's got one of my labs, and he says, "Roll Tide," and the dog goes.
Oh, that's funny.
He rolls.
Roll over.
That is funny.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's cute.
So you went to school at Mississippi State, got your degree in accounting, and what did you do with that?
Not much.
Not much.
Well, I went to work with DOD and Department of Defense, and I stayed there 6 to 8 months. and we were expecting our first child, and that travel was 100%. So I had to get out of that.
Right.
I went with a CPA firm, and that just was not my cup of tea. I couldn't sit behind a desk
And count beans.
every day and count beans. I
Yeah.
had to do something different. So when tax season was over, I was offered a job with Treasury Department, and I didn't contact them. They contacted me, thank goodness. So I took the job and ended up as a special agent with Treasury,
Gotcha.
assigned to the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, and then later the Anti-Terrorism Task Force.
Yeah. So with that, you traveled the world.
Yeah, I traveled a good bit.
Yeah. So what's funny is that, you know, it was a full-time travel job, and then you stopped so you could become an accountant, and then you took another full-time travel job.
Yeah, but I could get home on the weekends.
There
It wasn't
you
like
go.
the first job, you might be gone 3 months at a time.
Right.
And we would live on the local economy, if even overseas. So,
Yeah.
you know, and with our first child, we didn't want to stay in a place for 3 or 4 months at a time, then move to another place 3
Yeah.
or 4 months.
Yeah.
Where with Treasury Department, I'd be gone a week, sometimes 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I'd be back home normally on the weekend.
Well, that's good then.
And my wife didn't have to travel.
Yeah.
I'm sure she appreciated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the baby.
Oh yeah.
That's
With a newborn. I know. I've got one on the way, and she's already. We just traveled, and she's like, "You're gone already." I'm like, "The baby's not here yet."
Yeah.
We get this out of the way.
Yeah. We got to get this out of the way. So after that, you had a career in law enforcement,
Right.
which you were assistant chief in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah, for 6.5 years.
Right.
And then I was chief of police in West Point for 3.5 years.
Yeah, and it was your old buddy who called you and
Right.
said, "Hey, you're going to be the new."
The new police chief in West Point. I said, yeah, who said that? He said, I did. So I moved down there, and this is where the real happenstance comes in.
Yeah.
I moved down, and I buy the mayor's son's house, and it happens to be next door to Toxey Haas, the CEO of Mossy Oak. So I was trained in labs in my yard, and he asked me, would you train my labs? And I said, sure, if I can use your land to train on, because, you know, it joins mine.
Yeah.
And he said, that'd be fine. And then he starts talking about, well, let's start us a kennel. And that's how I ended up where I am now. Talk turned to action, and
Yeah.
I ended up as, I guess you'd say, the director of gun dog
Director
operations.
of gun dog operations.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into how Mossy Oak Kennels started, because that's going to be the whole next, however long of this podcast. We want to take a minute and thank the sponsor of this episode, Sportsman's Pride Professional Dog Food.
In the upper Midwest, people appreciate the little things, like warm drinks around the fire, breathtaking landscapes, a hearty stack of flapjacks with extra.
Yeah, that's true and all, but we also love to hunt.
When it comes to hunting with dogs, Lauren Harvey's in a class of her own. Whether it's taking a cold trail out from the bait, treeing a black bear, or mountain lion, Lauren's dogs are always at the top of their game. Lauren trusts Sportsman's Pride Professional Dog Food to fuel her pack, helping her dogs recover quickly after a long run, building lean muscle tone, and giving her pack healthy, shiny coats from the Omega Pride skin and coat system in every bag. Experience the Sportsman's Pride difference. Developed by experts, trusted by legends. New Sportsman's Pride Fieldmaster grain-free dog food. Available now.
Boy, I appreciate them. I know that much. They have a really good product. It keeps my dogs healthy. It keeps a good coat on my dogs. I get low stools, so it makes my cleanup easier every day. Because you do have to clean every
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
So you guys are clean down
Yeah.
at the kennels. We see it. Thanks, Sportsman's Pride, for sponsoring today's episode. Remember, you can save 10% by using code FIELDMASTER at checkout. That's code FIELDMASTER to save 10% on your first order. All right, Bill. So we're back. So I want to talk about, we kind of started alluding to it. So you moved next to Toxey,
Right.
which, did you know you were moving next to Toxey? Or did you kind of like buy the house and then you're like, oh, this is Toxey's place?
No, I bought the house, and then I found out who my neighbors were.
Yeah. It's a good neighbor to have.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's a really good guy.
Yeah. We
Good neighbor.
Yeah, when we were in West Point, we got to meet Toxey, and super nice. Kind of, wanted to know what we were doing. Told him we were hanging out with you, and he was all elated. He was glad that we were hanging out with you. He's a great guy. So you started training his dogs, and it led to what we know today as Mossy Oak Kennels.
Right.
Kind of amazing how life can take you on that journey sometimes.
Yeah, because if I'd never taken a job as police chief and bought the house that I bought and moved into the neighborhood, I might not have ever known Toxey.
And you guys are still neighbors today.
We're still neighbors today.
Yeah. So is
great.
it kind of like, well, Toxey, I guess Toxey's not down at the kennels, necessarily every day, but you guys still see each other probably almost every day.
Yes, we see each other when he passes a house.
Yeah.
And I'll wave to him. And
Yeah.
his dogs, he's got a fence around his yard, an underground fence.
Gotcha.
Dog wears a collar.
Yeah.
Well, his main dog, when he hears my truck coming, if he's outside, he runs up to maybe 10 foot from the buried wire.
Yeah.
And starts barking for me to come throw him a dummy.
So really, is it Toxey's dog or, he's got.
Well, it came out of my litter of pups I had at the house.
Gotcha.
But he's Toxey's dog.
Yeah.
But he does love to bark at me to come play with him.
I believe it. So, so tell me, how was it kind of Toxey who was just like, hey, I have this idea, because this is a while ago. I mean, Mossy Oak Kennel started in
2015.
2015.
Roughly.
Yeah. So Mossy Oak obviously has been around for a long time. And was it just kind of something where it was like, hey, we want to try it and let's see where it goes?
No, we're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
Let's see where it goes. And but it took a little while, to get everything put together
Right.
and find a piece of land found one he already had
Yeah.
and build a kennel. Building a kennel took a while.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, right around 2015 too. I mean, there was a lot, kind of going on, and it was. I was trying to think. Actually, that's not. I don't know why I was thinking 28.
That's
I was
that's
like-
not 2008.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I was like, what was
2009.
going on in
2008,
2015?
2009. I was like, that's not. No, 2015.
Yeah.
That was a college year, so there was a lot going on there. But
For you, you're like,
For me,
man, the
for
world
me.
was busy.
yeah, for me, I was like, wow, the world was just busy.
Some
That's-
brain cells missing from those years.
You know what? I'd rather not talk about it on this podcast. So you guys started out. Did you start out with a specific breed of dog, or did you kind of find one right off the bat?
Well, we started out with what we had.
Right.
I had 3 British Labrador Retrievers, and of course he had a puppy, and then he had another dog about that same time, another puppy, off of one of the Mossy Oak guys' British Labs, and so we just started with very limited resources as far as labs.
Right.
It was fairly easy to keep the kennel clean because we didn't have that many dogs at that point in
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And then we just grew from there. And I had contacts in the UK and Republic of Ireland where I could buy puppies or buy dogs. And we bought dogs and brought them over and then kept adding and adding and adding. Today we have about 28 labs, maybe 30 that belong to us.
Yeah. And what's really unique is it is British Labs.
They're all British Labs, which are field dogs. They're actual hunting dogs, field trial dogs. They're not show dogs.
Right. So the British Lab is different from, let's say, a standard American Lab in that it's shorter, and it's got it's a little bit narrower as well.
Yeah, it's just a basic size difference. It's probably just a little bit wider than the American Lab.
Oh, okay.
But a little bit shorter.
Right.
And the some of them have a little bit bigger head and have that otter tail
Oh,
that people like to see.
yeah.
The wide tail.
Yeah. Now that you say that, we were just there for 3 days, and I just now noticed that.
That's what I'm trying to think back. I'm like, was it? I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of a bigger tail and bushier tail. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So British Labs are what you guys specialize in.
Right.
And you get the puppies over in the UK.
Yes, and then we have them shipped over here and pick them up at the airport, clear customs, bring them back, and start them on their kennel life and
Yeah.
training.
Yeah. Now, for those who may not know, it's not like a week-old puppy.
No,
you
it's,
know,
it's about 10 weeks old.
yeah, it's going to be about 10 weeks
Yeah.
old and things like that.
They have to meet the criteria to fly over here. 10 weeks. Temperatures have to be between, say, 20 and 85 degrees. Anything above 85, they won't fly. Anything below 20, they won't fly. And they fly in the cargo hold, but it's heated, it's cooled, and it's pressurized. Otherwise, everything down there would not make it.
Right.
Wouldn't be any oxygen down
Right.
Yeah. They make it safe for the dogs then.
Yeah. And I didn't realize the crates that they put the dogs in is something else.
there. Yeah.
I mean, we saw one at your place and it blew my mind how much like there's some craftsmanship, honestly, into
Yeah.
making those things.
It's a wooden dog crate.
Oh, on the
But it's
patio?
really
Yeah.
well made, yeah.
Yeah. It's surprising. So now you said between 85 and 20. Is that temperature outside?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Tarmac temperature.
Gotcha. Okay. That's really, I didn't know
Because
that
once
either.
you get up here, at 35,000 feet, it's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cold. Yeah. I didn't realize that it had to be like a certain temperature.
Yeah, I've had dogs that are puppies that people bought and take them to the airport to ship them to them, and started back to the kennel, get a phone call from the airport, said, hey, it's at the time it was 80 degrees. They said it's 81 degrees. You got to come pick your puppy up. You can't fly it because it's
Wow.
1 degree above
Wow.
what our allowance is, and
Yeah.
got to go pick it up. And
You gotta do what you gotta do.
it's really sort of a nightmare shipping
Yeah.
one to meet the clearances. Like one day I had one to ship. Got to the airport. This lady was carrying 2 little kennels, had those little bitty chihuahuas or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, being a nice guy from the South, I hold the door for her.
Uh-huh.
She goes to the counter, checks hers in. I get up there and I said, you can't fly yours. And I said, pardon? I've had this reservation for quite some time. They said, the lady before you checked 2, and we only allow 2 on the airplane.
Oh,
man.
unbelievable.
So I learned a lesson. Don't hold the door.
Don't hold the door.
Yeah, that'll teach you.
Yeah.
What's funny is when right out of college, I moved to Memphis for a few years, and my first day there, I was gonna get a kind of like extended stay hotel type situation. Wasn't in the best part of Memphis, so I decided not to. Well, long story short, I was apartment searching then at that point, and there was a mail lady coming to deliver to the apartment complex that I was looking at, and I went to go open the door for her, and she kind of gave me like a look, and I was like, okay, sorry, I was just trying to be polite, and then she went to go lug like the dolly of mail up the stairs, so I grabbed the bottom and I was going to help her, and she like snapped, and she was like, I don't need your help. I don't think you don't know who I am. Like, why are you trying to help me? Well, I was like, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to help. I mean,
nice.
we're just trying to do the right thing, Bill.
Yeah.
Raised in the South.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're just trying to be nice.
Yeah, back in that day, you were taught to do the right thing every
That's
time.
it. That's it. So tell me so in your opinion, the British lab, because there's a few things that I noticed, but I want to hear it straight from the expert. The British lab is so unique in a few different ways. One, for me personally, is they're quiet. They do not get loud. I mean, obviously, when it's probably like feeding time and stuff like that, they'll let you know that they're hungry. But I mean, from your perspective, what is it about the British lab that makes them so unique?
The way that they have been raised and propagated in the UK for eons, really. They have a certain standard in mind, and that dog, before it's bred, is going to meet that standard. And one of them is quietness. Because if they run it in a field trial over there, it whines, it barks, makes any kind of noise, it's disqualified that quick. And so they when you breed for that and you exclude dogs that are noisy in the blind, noisy in the hide, as they call it, or noisy on the line, then you're going to get quietness in the long run. And that's where that comes from. And they also like a dog that's got natural game finding ability. They like a dog that's really steady. So they stress steadiness. A dog that breaks on the line or breaks in the hide, he's probably not going to breed over there. So yeah, genetically, he's wired that way, or she is wired that way,
Right.
depending on whether it's a boy or girl dog.
Yeah.
And then the use of the nose, they encourage that. They want a natural game finding ability, the way they phrase it. They want a dog that goes out without any help. When it crosses the scent cone, it'll turn and go pick the bird and bring it back. And then when they bring it back, the first thing the judge does is he starts doing this, looking at the feathers to see if there's any teeth marks in the skin. He also feels of it to make sure the ribs are not crushed. And if the ribs are crushed and there's a tooth mark on the skin, you're out of there. Boom. So they like a soft mouth, they like a good nose, they like bitability, they like trainability, and they propagate pups along those lines.
Wow.
Yeah.
Strict.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
very different from what I know over here in the field trials, which is they want to direct the dog to where to go.
Precision handling, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But I like what you're talking about, which is the natural ability to know how to work and stuff.
Because over there, you're not running on a mowed field. You're running high grass, then cover, woods,
Right.
brush. It's just heather. You're running in the heather. And when a dog leaves your side, sometimes 3 foot, you can't see it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's got to have some natural game finding ability. One of my dogs would run out maybe 100 yards in tall grass, and it would stop, turn around, and stand on his hind legs and look at me to get directions.
It's like, what now?
Trying to figure out where to
Yeah.
go.
That is so cute, though.
That's fun.
Because when you're in tall grass, the terrain changes as the dog runs,
Right.
and they get a little off, and they hit a scent cone, so he would stand up on his hind legs. And look.
That's really funny. So the other thing that I noticed about the British Lab is they're very well behaved when it comes time to work. It's time to work, and when it's not, it's like 2 completely different dogs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they call the on and off switch.
Yeah.
Like a light switch, You put your hunting clothes on, that dog is amped then. It's ready
Right.
to go. That's cut the switch on.
Yeah.
When it comes back and it go in the house, you want the switch off so it lays down, behaves itself. It's not eating the end off the sofa or tearing the rug up or eating the facing off the door or any of those things.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see the switch within it because they come out, you pet them, it's all lovey dovey, and then it's just like heel, and it's just like, whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that on-off switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nice.
You hear a lot of people talk about that, but you got to see it to believe it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We on this podcast we've joked about my dog Oreo. No on-off switch. It's just
It's on.
it's either all the way on or it's all the way off. And So one of the things that is really unique and kind of, reading up before we came out there and then seeing it in person was the low force training method that you guys use. And it was actually developed in the United Kingdom, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about why did you choose that style? What was it about the low force method that really made you want to pursue that?
Well, the main thing that impressed me was the dog that they ended up with.
Yeah.
They ended up with the same dog every day. And people may hate me for this, but where you collar train, and collar train is fine. I have nothing against that. But to me, you end up with 2 dogs, one on the collar and one off the collar.
Yeah.
And I just soon have a dog that does it because it wants to, not because it's made to.
Yeah.
So that's the main difference between an aversive type situation and a non-aversive type situation.
No, that's how Toast is. My dog. It's put the collar on. It's like, oh, he's well behaved. Take the collar off. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe we might have gone in the wrong route with that one.
Yeah.
But I understand why people train with collars. It's a faster method.
It's fast.
It's a good method.
Yeah.
But it's just not my method.
Right. Well, we have, with Oreo, we've had her since, she was straight up came out of a field, and that's how we got her. Don't know her past, nothing like that. And so we've tried kind of like a metal cinch collar. We've tried that, and she'll just pull. It doesn't matter. She'll just pull. And so we tried a e-collar, and it took, just the beep alone, and she automatically sits.
Yeah.
But if that thing's not on, and she's jumping all over the place, it is completely different.
Yeah.
So
That's just what I call 2 different dogs.
Yeah.
That's not true on all of them.
yeah,
But some of them end up that way. 2 different dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One with the collar on because they understand the collar,
Yeah.
and one with the collar off.
Yeah.
And like I say, not all of them end up that way.
Right.
But I don't know how to use a collar correctly, and man, I can mess one up quick.
Yeah.
So I just prefer the low pressure
Yeah.
method of training.
Well, what's nice about that is when we are out there hanging out with you, you know, their punishment is it's just a loud kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
that's it. That's their punishment.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
a
they're
max.
yeah. And what's unique is I didn't consider this until you said it, but their reward when you're out training is the retrieve.
That's right.
I think that is so different than what I thought,
Yeah.
which was no, that's the job. So like they have to do it, and that's their reward, and it really makes so much more sense.
And you can do a treat when they're younger, but then you got
Yeah.
to wean them off the treat a little bit,
Yeah,
and change over and go to the retrieve, because the retrieve to me is always the reward.
yeah,
And you can tell it's their reward whenever one's training and the other one's waiting to
Yeah.
train. The one that's waiting is just like, I want to train so bad. Like you
Yeah,
can tell they
But
love
it's not
to do
going
it.
to run out there.
Oh
It's
no, no,
gonna
no.
sit right there.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's
You,
going to be steady.
you can tell that they want to, but
yeah,
you can tell that is the treat for
And,
them
Sure.
for
and
sure.
that tail is going.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really highly alert
Yeah,
at that
they,
point.
they wag that tail because they're happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing what they were bred to do.
Yeah, you can tell they love it.
And that
And,
that was true with all the dogs that we saw work.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw one who wasn't working that day and just kind of needed a little bit of help, but they did something wrong, and so they didn't get to do the retrieve.
right.
And that's almost like your parents saying, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." That's like worse. that's way worse, And so it was really interesting to see that. And then like Sam was saying, all the dogs just love to do it. It's not, they don't come out scared. They would almost always immediately rush to you. It was,
Yeah.
I think it was really unique.
Yeah, and they just look really happy. And
They
even whenever
are.
I got home, I'm like, I'm gonna start training differently now. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah,
This old Cole, when you let him out the back, what does he do? He runs up to my desk and sits in the same place, and he'll sit there for 8 hours a day and never move a muscle.
Yeah. When we went out duck hunting on Thursday morning, Ross didn't leave. He would kind of walk away, check on everyone else, and then come right back.
Or something I'm like, Ross, I wanted him to look at me. He's like, I'm on the job right now. Like, he just sat so
Like he's waiting
punctual.
for a performance
Yeah.
review. He's like,
He's
I
like,
can't-
nope,
I
you're
can't
not gonna
mess up.
distract me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fall for that one.
Yeah, that was great.
That's what you got to have in a duck blind. You don't want a dog that's running up and down the blind, running into guns, creating a dangerous situation, aggravating people, barking and whining when the ducks start circling above head.
Yeah.
You want a dog that sits there steady and quiet and never moves. And all you got to do is while you don't have to sit there, your head up. You just sit there and watch the dog. When that head goes up, ducks are coming.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
No, he was great. He was great out there.
He's a great dog. He
Yeah.
really is.
I just wanted to pet him though. He's just
I
like,
know.
nope.
I noticed that.
It must have been Sam.
Uh,
That must have been
And
it.
most of them, when they're sitting in the duck blind, well, all of them I've got really, and you reach out to pet them on the head, they'll flip your hand off the head like, leave me alone. I'm working
Yeah.
Right,
today.
I am
Yeah.
working here.
Yeah. So what also stood out to me is each dog was different. So there was no one single hand approach. There was not, like we have to do this dog with this, like on this day so that it meets this schedule. I mean, you overall have a plan of how you want the dog to develop, but each
But it
one
changes.
each one is different.
Yeah.
And you learn the mannerisms of each dog. And then I think that really helps you kind of develop like a custom plan for each dog.
It does.
Yeah.
And we don't have a canned program, like you say. We don't go A, B, C, D. We may go A, B, C, M, A, B,
Right.
C again.
Yeah.
And so we don't have a canned program. Everything, we start every day is a different day. If we have a problem, we address that specific problem, but we don't address anything else that day except that problem. Then the next day, if we've got that pretty well behind us, then we'll run through A, B, C, D, E, F, to where we were the day before.
Right.
And
I
then
imagine-
then we'll turn around and start something new.
Yeah, I imagine that you can solve a lot trickier problems with dogs with that method, where you don't have just 5 different exercises to run, and if it doesn't work for you, then I guess your dog's not going to work. But are there situations where you've had to create some type of solution or exercise
Many times.
just for that one dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
But,
imagine.
I'll give you an example of low force right quick.
Yeah.
Okay, the dog is sitting at heel, and I throw a dummy, and it moves. Then I put the lead on the dog. I walk out with the dog. I pick the dummy up myself. I come back with the dog at heel, turn, sit. The dog sits, and I throw the dummy again. And he moves again. We do the same thing. Then the next time, he's steady as a rock. He's allowed to go get the dummy. And what's he learning from that? He's learning if he moves, he's not going to get his reward. But if he stays firm, he's going to get his reward. And you'd be surprised. People say, well, dogs can't figure stuff like that out.
Oh,
Yeah.
They
yes,
can,
they sure
believe
can.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a classic example, and you saw some of that.
Oh, yeah.
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 That's just a low-force method to reinforce steadiness.
Yeah. It was the whole experience for me was incredibly unique because I've seen some of the ways other trainers do it, and it was almost completely counterintuitive because a lot of times we hear like this dog needs to learn how to do this, and it's almost like trying to put like a square peg in a round hole sometimes, where the dog is just not getting it that day. And, using your method, I think it's really unique because you do create this kind of custom plan for them. And it may take you, you may have to skirt around it a little bit, but they learn. It just takes them a little while.
Yeah, and all dogs don't learn from the same routine. You may have to alter that routine a little bit, that training regimen, just a little bit to get this dog to do what this dog is doing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that come into play there. There's people say, well, all it is run it out and getting the dummy and bringing it back. No, it's not.
Right.
Because, going out to the line before you throw the dummy, you got heel work, you got the sit command, you got the place command, you've got steadiness to deal with. Then you throw the dummy, you got marking to deal with. The dog's got to go out and pick the dummy, but only when told. So he's got to learn the release command.
Right.
So there's a lot of different commands that come into play, and people think, well, that's, he just goes out and gets the dummy and brings it back. No.
It's not just fetch.
There's many things that he has to know before he can get that dummy.
Yeah, because one of the things you're talking about, like one of the exercises you'll do is you'll throw it and walk right past it and keep going. And I think it was like a memory command or something like that.
Yeah, we do trailing memories or circle memories.
Yeah, that's it.
So we'll walk out maybe 150 yards and tell them watch and drop the dummy, and then walk straight back to the point of beginning.
Yep.
And then turn around, heel, sit, and then release the dog. And he's got to remember to go that 150 yards. And we start with white dummies, and we change to orange because they can't see the orange.
Mm-hmm.
They got to remember where it was.
Right.
And then we do a circle memory, which same thing. We walk out with the dog at heel. We drop an orange dummy. Then we circle around the training grounds and come back and then send the dog, and he's got to run a straight line to the dummy. Oof. That's called a circle memory.
Yeah.
And what that does is build memory of where we dropped that dummy. And you'd be surprised how fast they catch on.
Oh yeah, you can see them smell and kind of just be like, they'll look up and be like, oh, I'm in the complete wrong spot.
And they're constantly checking, looking to see where my knee is. You'll see their head switch over to look, see where they are in relation to my knee. That's part of healing and steadiness. Because we don't want him healing along, and all the next thing we know, he's in the next county running.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like I was saying with Ross when we went out on the duck hunt. He'd run up, kind of do a little lap, make sure everyone was good, and then go right back next to you.
Just sit down and stay right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
For extended periods of time.
Right.
He was falling asleep. You can tell he was like sitting up, kind of close, but he's still steady there and everything.
Yeah.
But you know what? The minute you click a safety on the gun,
Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh, it's
blow
like
a duck call, it's boom.
yeah.
Right
Nose shots
on it.
shoots right up. Yeah. So one of the other things that's really unique about Mossy Oak Kennels is that you guys do have puppies that come over, and you also breed at the kennels as well.
That's correct.
And we kind of got to see you guys are doing some renovations of the puppy house and stuff over there, which is fantastic. I think there's so much thought put into those that, you guys have a very strict program for your puppies. I mean, we're talking, you weigh them every morning. You make sure that they're growing adequately. I mean, you're checking temperatures and everything like that.
Check their body warmth. We rub them and talk to them.
Yeah.
So that they get a little stimulation from a human being instead of just mother.
Right.
And they're very confined. We put, I guess you call it artificial turf with a pad in there.
Yeah.
And what that does, if you just leave them on the wood, the legs are spraddled out because they can't gain traction.
Right.
And then you got a spraddle on your hands that you got to work with to get the legs to come back in the right relationship with the body. So we keep that in there. And those little pups you saw the other day, they'll be 2 weeks old later this week and early next week. And they're already up pretty well walking right now, and their eyes are open.
Right.
Oh.
That's cute.
But we stimulate them every morning, pet them, and play with them. And Bobby Clyde, my kennel hand, his job is socialization with puppies. He loves to play with puppies.
It's so funny when we were out there training, it was Tyler and you, and then the three of us were out there, and you'd see Bobby kind of walking off in the background, and he's like, got a dog. And Tyler was like, oh, yeah, playtime with Bobby.
Yeah, he loves dogs. So that's the best job he ever had.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny about Bobby is he used to work in the warehouse for Mossy Oak, right?
Yeah. 24 years, I think.
Wow.
But that was part-time. He was also working for the company that made boilers for Navy ships and electrical generation facilities and stuff like that.
Oh, so you guys have multiple connections then, kind of.
He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he takes a real interest in the puppies. He takes a real interest as the dogs grow. Mm-hmm. And I bet he's out right now walking one.
He probably is. Yeah, you're probably right.
And he helps keep the kennel clean.
Yeah.
Because cleanliness is godliness, as they say.
Yeah.
And if you don't keep it clean, you're going to end up with some kind of bacteria.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't like bacteria.
No.
For instance, I took a litter to the vet, and she said, we need to check their stool to see if they have any intestinal problems, bacterial problems. And I said, that'd probably be all right, but my dogs don't have intestinal parasites. Oh, puppies have intestinal parasites, Mr. Bill. I said, no, mine don't. So she said, well, let's just test one. I said, no, if you're going to test one, you're going to test them all. We might as well just go ahead and test them all. It takes about 20 minutes to run the test. She runs a test and comes back up scratching her head, and she says, your puppies don't have intestinal parasites.
You're like, I told you that.
Yeah. I said, that's what I told you, so I get it free. She said, no.
That's not how that works.
In no uncertain term.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, you weigh them every day.
Every day. And I record the weights. I keep a running worksheet in my computer.
Mm-hmm. And what's really cool is if you go to the kennels and you look on the wall, you can see lineage of different dogs. And I think that's really neat because you track all that for each dog.
I track them all.
Yeah.
Before I breed something, I've got to know what I'm breeding. Health-wise, we have hips done, we have elbows done, we have eyes done, and we have a 10 DNA recessive gene analysis run on them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then those that we can match up on the health issues are good. But then you got to go further than that. We don't want to breed. If we have one that's a little hot and one that's a little slow, we'd want to breed those. We wouldn't want to breed two hot dogs and end up with a hot dog litter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
right. And one of the things that you were talking about, it was a number measurement as far as, I want to say it was like -50 or something like that. You look
the estimated breeding values.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's measured in standard deviation units.
Got it.
Starting with 0.
Mm-hmm.
And they do this on the British website. So my dogs come from over there. I can plug them in and see what the EBV is.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a minus, that's a lesser chance of hip dysplasia or elbow dysplasia. If it's a plus, that's a greater chance. And the last two puppies I got were -50 and -42.
Yeah.
So That's 42 standard deviation units below zero. The
It's
middle
really
line.
good.
Right.
Really good.
That's
really good.
really, really
Yeah.
good. So one of the things that I think is super important for people to understand is, you guys are not in the kennel business to just churn out puppies. I mean, you guys are super selective, and you are really trying to train the best of the best.
That's very true.
Yeah.
We want the best puppies that we can propagate without any relationship to the number of puppies. We don't want to be a puppy mill. We're not in the puppy mill business.
Yeah.
We had 8 litters one year, and that's the most we've ever had.
And and those puppies, when we were with you last week, those puppies are gone. Even the puppies that aren't born yet.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone. And you guys sell them to all sorts of people. I mean, some of the names that, we heard that have a Mossy Oak Kennel dog, huge names. I mean, I think Tyler Farr, I think, was one you said.
He had one. He had 2 that we trained.
Yeah, and then Mike Leach had one. And, so there's a ton of names out there that are looking for Mossy Oak dogs.
Yeah. It's like today, I had 4 inquiries.
I know, just before we
before we
started.
sat down.
Yeah, before we sat down.
Last week, we sold 7 pups.
It's wild.
Yeah.
And, of course, about 100% of them aren't born yet.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, all these ones that, we saw last week that are just about to turn 2 weeks old, those are gone. And I think you're probably on a wait list, would you say, until next year?
Yeah, sometime in 23 this year.
Wow.
But 23 will fill out. Once we determine exactly what we're going to breed,
Yeah.
they'll be sold fairly rapidly.
Yeah.
If you don't get on early, you're not going to get a low pick, that's for sure, if you get a pick.
Right. Yeah.
And like those you saw last week, only one is not sold. That's because it's mine.
You kept that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. One question I did have is, when it comes to it, do you have, let's say, Ryan was to get a dog from Ross and one of your females, and do you have a lot of people that say, hey, I want a puppy out of Ross and another one, or do you just kind of, when the puppies come, you get to choose out of those?
We decide where we're going to breed. We're not breed driven by outside forces, so to speak.
There you go.
Yeah.
We make that decision, then we announce the litters that we're planning, and they can pick from the litter.
Yep.
Makes sense.
And whoever gets their deposit in first gets first pick.
Got it.
And what a lot of people don't realize, there's 2 first picks, 2 second picks, because you got male, female.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got color coming into play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the right color and the right number, some people get mad.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could
Not
control it.
mad, but it kind of hurts not to get their puppy on time.
Yeah.
And then when you start talking about moving up to a litter, these litters already sold out.
Mm-hmm.
So then it may delay them for quite a while.
Yeah.
So what we do is tell them, well, you can have your deposit refunded, or you can get on a future litter, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Or if somebody backs out on a future litter, then you can step in and have that pup. Whatever you want to do, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if they call and say, well, I don't want a puppy anymore, I'm going to quit hunting or something along those lines, then I'm not going to refund the deposit. But if it's a sickness in the family, or maybe they had a kid, just had a baby, and they can't take a dog right now, then we'll refund or carry them to another litter.
Gotcha.
Fair's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what do you think is next for Mossy Oak Kennels? You guys are expanding the puppy house, which is awesome. I mean, that's such a great facility that you guys are building out there. What's next for Mossy Oak?
Well, I don't know whether I can tell you that or not. It's just continued growth in the training area.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to start pushing.
Well, I know you guys were talking about bringing in another trainer.
Yeah,
as well.
We're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm 78 years old, and like I told you, I hope to make another 78, but I don't think I'm going to make it. So we're going to have to bring in somebody that's willing to step up and take my place, and then I'll kind of not slip out the back door, but take a lesser role
Yeah.
Yeah.
and keep up with paperwork and litters and all the things that I do now. But I do that now, and I have to train and have to do everything else. Sometimes clean,
Yeah.
take pups to the vet,
You might
keep
just
up with the records on the pups when their shots were, what shots they had.
Yeah.
It's an everyday job.
Yeah.
you get
and
to
when-
pick and choose later on. You'll get to all the sweet jobs.
Yeah, I take a sweet job.
I
Get
wanna
somebody
take
else.
those. Yeah.
You would have seen dirty jobs on TV.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You just get all the ones with all the perks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've cleaned kennels, washed dogs, disinfected kennels, keep up with breeding schedules, keep up with the heat schedules on the females. You know, try to keep up some semblance of anyway. How well the puppies do out of each litter, so that I know if I want to repeat breeding on that. And by the time you figure all this stuff out, it's several days are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because training is just about an all-day affair.
Yeah.
And you still got everything else to do.
Right.
And then what I do is the monetary part of it, the revenue part, I go through every now and then and reconcile my books to the office books to make sure that we're still on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because that's what I noticed when we were down there is training doesn't really start until the afternoon because there's so much to do beforehand, like cleaning the kennels and,
Weighing the puppies.
Yeah.
weighing the
playing,
puppies. Yeah.
and playing with the puppies.
Playing with
Playing with the
puppies. Yeah.
puppies.
Yeah,
Socialization is a big part of it, is it not?
about 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
On the
so
front
laying
end.
laying in the bed with the puppies, just
Yeah.
Yes. You're
Just
working.
fine.
He's
You're
working.
working.
just fine.
Yeah.
Like we may just let the puppies out and let them walk with us after they've had their first round of shots. They don't touch grass
Yeah. No.
until first round of shots
Yeah.
because of
Fear of
parvo.
parvo. Yeah.
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 And so we may just let them walk with us, follow us around. And that's, people say, well, that's not training. Sure it is, because they're learning to heel, basically. Even though you're not telling them heel, they're learning to follow you and
Yeah.
stay with you
Yeah.
and not run off.
And you said that you would have days where you just shut the fence to the kennel and just let them go.
Let the big dogs out,
Yeah.
let them run. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when you get to heaven, that's kind of what it looks like.
Right.
is you just kind of have
I
that
may be
field of
covered
business.
up with dogs
He probably did.
if I get to make that journey. I'm
Yeah.
trying.
Well, yeah, I think it's really neat what's happening at Mossy Oak Kennels because there's a lot of growth happening. You guys are trying to do a lot of unique things with the British labs and, trying to use, or not, I shouldn't say trying, definitely using this low force training method. It's something that if you haven't seen it, it's really unique to watch because I think in the US, we have a lot of, there's so many different training methods, but I this one is so effective to me that, I wish Oreo was a little bit more trainable. That way I could do it. But, it was very, very unique to see. And I think that, what is happening at the kennels is awesome.
I think
to watch.
I think that just speaks to everything that they've accomplished at Mossy Oak, and it's what you've built, Bill, with everybody at Mossy Oak, and I'm sure that the low force training methods, not everybody can do that. I don't know if everybody has got the patience.
I don't
to
have.
do
I was
that.
going to say a lot of people don't have the patience.
Yeah.
And it's not, there's a lot of different methods, and there's methods for
And all
the
of
right
them work.
person.
All the methods work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it does make Mossy Oak Kennels something special.
But it's just a preference
Right.
deal, Do you prefer to do it this way, or this way?
Right.
Well, I think
And
I think just happenstance of you moving in next to Toxey started this whole journey.
yeah, a whole chain of events.
Yeah.
So to speak, that otherwise probably never would have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's got to be what they call happenstance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's really unique.
I feel like what I don't. You've done videos before, training tips and things like that. It would be really interesting to be able to show people in mass kind of like a few of the low force training methods. If there's anything that people like could practice at home with their dogs, not hunting dogs, but their dogs.
I wrote a book on it.
Yeah.
Basically, it's
He's
not
got
a
it.
long book, 69, 70 pages,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. But if you condense it down to a smaller book, it'd be more like 100 and something pages.
Yeah.
And Toxey said, well, maybe we need to publish that. I said, there's not as much demand out there for books as there is DVDs and online type stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And so we talked about it. We talked about doing online training techniques, not for pay, but for just anybody want to use it could use it.
General
Right.
public. Yeah. PSA.
Yeah.
And if they liked it, use it. If you don't like it, don't use it.
Don't use
Yeah.
it.
But it's
Yeah.
no cost involved.
Right.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that as people start talking more and more about low force training methods, just being able to search and say, what is this? How do I do this? Would be impressive.
And a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's me. You know, it's like a lot of times when you go pick your puppy up, they hold a 2-hour seminar on do's and don'ts, and general issues involving a puppy, feeding and crate training and all those things that come up. And if it's like me, I could retain about 10% of something that somebody told me, and I think most people are about that same percentage. So what I did, I just wrote a do's and don'ts manual, send a manual home with them, and if they got a question, they can look it up. I explain the manual to them before they leave, quick explanation. I tell them, you know, you're probably not going to understand over 10% of it if I sit here for 2 hours talking. You get in the car, you start home, so what do you say about that? Here's your manual.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think a online presentation would be a really good item, just a free deal on all aspects of our low force training methods.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. That'd be super helpful for people. Sure.
If we want them to, if they're going to bring our dogs back to us, we want those dogs coming back to us in a already handled in a prescribed manner as far as heel, sit, stay. And the first question they say is, when I start training? I said, as soon as you get home. Well, how am I going to do that? I said, well, you got crate training, which is kind of a place training deal.
Right.
You've got training at feeding time. So you you tell the puppy to sit, and if it does not sit, you put some food in a food bowl, get your scent on it, tell the puppy to sit, and if he did not sit, you walk toward him holding the food bowl up. Well, the closer you get, the more inclined he is to sit. And once he sits, then you start moving the food bowl down. If he gets up, sit again, raise the food bowl up. In a week, you're going to have that puppy sitting there until you say okay, and then he'll come eat. But then when you bring him back to me for training, he's got that sit command down pat.
Right.
Yeah.
If you walk around with him in the yard, he knows what following people is, and heel training comes pretty easy. The main mess up that we see is we tell people, whatever you do not just incessantly throw dummies and let the puppy pick it up and come running back. And when the puppy gets right here, you grab it out of his mouth, he swings around, you throw it again, he's right back out there again. The problem with that is you're teaching the puppy to drop, because within a week he's going to be coming within about 3 feet of you, and he's going to throw that dummy down so you can pick it up faster and throw it again.
Yeah.
That and you're over-exercising that puppy, which is bad for the hips and the elbows, because that's a contributed factor to dysplasia, is over-exercise, to the nutritional value of the dog food, like 30-20 and stuff like that's too high for that puppy. So you're causing fast, rapid bone growth, cartilage growth, and you're going to end up with a dysplasia problem probably. And they don't really know what causes dysplasia. They know that it's probably a combination of factors: genetics, nutrition, and exercise.
Right.
So if you do that and then you bring a puppy to us and it's dropping, then we got maybe a month wasted because we got to teach the dog to hold the dummy.
Yeah.
And it's not the puppy that decided to drop the dummy. It's the kind of low force training you've been doing, overindulging, I should say.
Yeah.
And causing that problem. Because you'll notice our dogs, when they come back, they hold that dummy.
Oh yeah. They
They hold that bird until you tell them to release.
Oh yeah.
And but people could do a lot of that stuff and do it the correct way and save themselves some money and save us a lot of aggravation of trying
Right.
And it's really easy too.
to pardon?
All the things that you say to do, it's like, oh, that makes sense, and it's super
Yeah.
easy. I mean,
It's just it's easy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just as easy to do it right as it is to do it
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
That's
I think
the
the
thing.
hard part is just
Yeah.
people being consistent with it. But
I think it's one of those things too where you kind of know what you're supposed to do, but you've never heard it before. So, like the example you just gave with the food, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's just you kind of almost have to hear it to like realize what.
And you know what that's
Yeah.
doing? That's making you the alpha dog to the puppy because you're putting a scent on the food. What's the puppy going to do? He's going to associate food time with the alpha dog.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And if you're the zebra dog like my wife, she doesn't stop at beta.
it just keeps going.
Yeah, she just keeps going. Then, the puppy's not going to pay any attention to you.
Right.
Where if you're the alpha dog, people ask me, says, why do the dogs mind you and they won't mind me? They recognize me right off the bat as the alpha dog. I'm the boss. And I've had my assistant trainer say, I can't get the dog to do this. And I go out there and does it perfect. Why will it do it for you and not for me? I said, because you're not the alpha dog. You have not proved to this dog that you're the alpha dog. You have not built trust in that dog to trust you in whatever you're telling it to do.
Right.
And it'll get his reward. So,
That's a really good point.
yeah.
Yeah, the dog has to believe
He has to believe
Yeah.
in you.
what you're gonna do. Yeah.
I don't think Oreo believes in me. I think I think she's just kind of like, you pay the mortgage, but really I own
I
this
really
place.
own the house.
I really own the house. All right, Bill, thank you so much for joining us on the Fieldmaster podcast. Before we go, you are on the Sportsman's Pride Duck Jerky Bites. You are the ambassador on our bag. So I was wondering, could you give us a little tip on maybe training with your treats?
Sure, be glad to. This tip is going to deal with crate training.
Okay.
And what I do is I open the bag, take a treat out, have the pup sit beside me, throw the treat in the crate, and then use the command kennel. As soon as he gets in the crate, I close the door, keep it closed for a second, open it back up, let him back out, and he's pretty well had his treat down by then.
Right.
And then I'll do it again, and a little longer time in the kennel before I open the door. And that's the easiest way in the world to teach them to crate train, and that crate becomes a safe place then. And when they get older and they come in the house with you, you don't have to worry about them chewing holes in the TV screen, tearing the couch up, tearing a pillow up. If they're tired, they're going to go get in their kennel, lay down, and rest.
That's nice.
And, so that's my tip for today
All
on
right.
my treats. Plus, the treats are good for the hips and elbows and their joints.
Yeah, they got glucosamine
Yeah.
and chondroitin in them. Yeah.
Right. And that's good for everything.
They're made with real duck as well, so they'll get them ready
That's
for
true.
that for
Yeah,
duck hunting.
We notice it tastes like duck.
All right. Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us again, and we will see you all on the next episode.
I can assure you it's my pleasure. And anytime you want to have another visit, let me know and I'll be over.
Will do.
Bill. Great having you.
Thanks, Bill.
thank you.
Thank you.